So a big thing has been happening this past week, and people are thinking about a trend. I don't necessarily think so. And there's two waves of reactions to this, and both completely opposite sides. Now, Baylor's senior running back Shock Linwood, he announced that he's going to skip the team's bowl game for preparations for the NFL draft, which this one makes no sense at all. He's only started 5 games this season. Yes, he's Baylor's all-time leading rusher, but he was suspended for multiple games after the interim head coach Jim Grobe said he hasn't been himself. He hasn't been himself. So you've already got some off-the-field issues, especially, and people, that could range from anything at Baylor right now. And you really didn't put up a great season this year. Now you're going to say you're skipping the bowl game, which is supposed to help you raise your draft stock, especially for Shock Linwood. And you're going to just say, I'm preparing for the NFL future. You might not even get drafted, dude. You need this bowl game. But the other two players who don't really necessarily need the bowl game, that's Leonard Fournette of LSU and Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey. They both decided to sit out their team's bowl games for draft preparations. And at first, I'll give you my first initial reactions. It's been a few days now. I was a little upset, right? That was my first reaction was, they're skipping it. I mean, not necessarily that they need it, but they don't need the bowl game. These guys have put in enough work to show that they're first round running backs. I was just, it was kind of the fan side of me that came out and said, I want to see these guys play in their last bowl game, right? That was my first. But then once I really got to read and look at everything, Christian McCaffrey's touched the ball over 700 times at Stanford. He's put in enough work. And being a running back, we all know carries knock your career down. So I don't mind Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey sitting out. I really don't. And again, they've drawn both criticism, both sides. They're talking preserving their bodies, staying healthy, not taking unnecessary hits that they really just don't need. These aren't big bowl games. It's what, the Sun Bowl and what else we had? Exactly. I don't even know the 2 bowl games. It's the Sun Bowl and something else. It's not big games. They're not big games. Now, and there's multiple athletes have talked about this. Now professional athletes have said, well, would you have sit out? Well, if it's a national championship, no, I'm not sitting out. If it's something like this, the Sun Bowl, it doesn't really matter. Who cares if you go from 7-5 to 8-5? It doesn't matter. And I agree. If it's a national championship, that's where this becomes an issue. And general managers have taken somewhat both sides as well. And one of the major arguments to playing is when people start talking about, Marcus Lattimore, what happened to him when he suffered an injury. It wasn't in a bowl game, it was during the season, but he was a surefire top 10 draft pick to go to the 4th round and then not even play a game. The injury took his career, basically. And then you look at Jalen Smith last year at Notre Dame. Plays in the Fiesta Bowl, which is a big-time bowl game, by the way. It's not like it was a small bowl game when people bring this up. And then gets hurt. Drops to the 2nd round. He gets his insurance policy. He still gets paid. But we still don't know whether he's going to actually play in a game. And if he does, will he be the same that he looked like he was going to be? So there's always that as well. Now, before people go crazy, Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey weren't actually the first to say they were going to skip their bowl game and not play. Oklahoma defensive lineman Charles Walker said mid-season he quit the team. He quit the team. Mid-November, he said, I'm done. I'm going to train for the pros. He felt he put in enough work. And it was after he had got a concussion. He said, I'm good. He said he was good. And so now we've got 4 players who are skipping their bowl game, skipping the season to prepare for the NFL draft. And here comes part of the issue with that. They always say if you are thinking about you're playing not to get hurt, there's a good chance you're going to get hurt. So some of these guys skipping out, they can go and prepare. They could skip the bowl game. They could go train at one of these top facilities that it seems like they're everywhere now. Go train with some of those guys and tear an ACL just like that. I mean, there's no guarantee by skipping your bowl game you are going to stay healthy just by training. This is way, way, way back. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Ronaldo Nehemiah was training, working out off season, running on the sand, running on a beach, messed up his leg, knee injury, done. Same thing can happen to these guys. God forbid that it happens to any of these guys. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen to say, oh, look, see, you could still get hurt. I'm just saying there's been plenty of athletes who have gotten hurt in the offseason preparing for the next year or preparing for the NFL draft. You're not safe. And if you're thinking about trying to stay healthy and stay and not get hurt, and that's going through your mind, there's a good chance you're going to get hurt. You're playing not to get hurt, and you still get hurt. It can happen. So the whole main thing of this is, while this makes just 4 Power 5 players, right, that have, out of the 1,000 of FBS players who have said, you know, we're just not going to play. This is not going to become a trend. This will not become a trend. We won't see quarterbacks start doing it because quarterbacks need it. We might see running backs. It makes sense for running backs, some of these guys, because of the extra hits, and especially these lower bowl games. There's so many bowl games where it doesn't really matter. And these guys have put in enough work. Shock Linwood, on the other hand, that makes no sense. That one I'm completely against. That one we could go ahead and say if Shock Linwood was the only player, then we could just question him and say, you need this bowl game. You haven't put in enough work. Especially after this past season of just terrible and having off the field issues right now. That doesn't help you. You need this bowl game. Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, they've done enough. Everybody relax. It's okay. This isn't about them going to just try to get money and all this other stuff. It's fine for them. It's fine for them. I think we can all agree with that.